intended primarily for spiritual edification rather than doctrinal inspiration. Secondly, it's a tedious moralising lecture. Which do you want? I'm not going to do the second one. You might get the second one. Okay. It's difficult to succinctly describe the last 10 years of Mark and Janet's ministry here in Woodbridge. So I've simply done my own personal list of 10 things I've learnt during the last 10 years. So firstly, I've learnt that the best food in the world is millionaire shortbread. Secondly, despite others' unfavourable stereotyping, there are some really nice people from Essex. Thirdly, I never tire of hearing the King of Football story. Fourthly, Springer Spaniels seem to be the most friendly and yet most disobedient dogs on the planet. Fifthly, if a sermon starts with, "Time seems to have run away from us," it will still be a cracker. Sixthly, if the service starts with, "We aim to be finished within an hour," it will still be a cracker. Seventhly, that all important events, no matter how sombre or deeply spiritual, they should always be accompanied by either a barbecue, a hog roast, a meal, a cake, a biscuit, coffee or tea. Eighthly, what we used to call children's talks, we now call interactive talks, are often more illuminating or challenging than the sermon. I don't, I'm afraid, remember Mark's first sermon at Beaumont, but I do remember that for the first few weeks he served the children breakfast during the service. Mystery can be found in the telling of stories. Wonder can be found in the ordinary. Spiritual truths can be found in the everyday. Ninthly, from Chapel Street to Quay Street, from Quay Street to the Riverside, from the Riverside back to Quay Street, from Woodbridge to Leading Edge and church weekends away to Rendlesham Forest, journeys are exciting, daunting, hard work, never boring, and often challenge us to look beyond ourselves. Tenthly, Mark introduced me to the writings of Eugene Peterson, who gave us the Message translation. In one of his books, Peterson quotes from an unlikely source, Friedrich Nietzsche, a very depressed German philosopher. Is there any other kind? And this is the quote: "The essential thing in heaven and earth is that there should be a long obedience in the same direction. There thereby results something which has made life worth living." That phrase, a long obedience in the same direction. Peterson uses it as the title for a book that describes the life of Christian pilgrimage through the songs of ascent in the Psalms. I also discovered that Bono of U2 talks about his own musical and religious journeys and has had communication with Peterson. Apparently they're BFFs. And he says that if he got a tattoo on his arm, it would be that, a long obedience in the same direction. That's one of the most important things I think I've learnt over the last 10 years, and I'm grateful for Mark and Janet introducing me to it in the way they model a disciple's journey. One of the songs of ascent is Psalm 128, which begins, "Blessed are all who fear the Lord, who walk in obedience to him." That's my thank you to you and my prayer for you. Now we have a couple of things to give away, prizes. So I think this comes in two parts. This is the bit that you get now, and I believe there's another bit that's a secret trip to Wales or something like that, isn't it? It's a sort of a retreat or something like that. You're going to get lost somewhere in Wales. Please find your way back. It's a strange and weird country. And also, for Chaz and Katie, I remember when you all came to get inducted, that's the word, it nearly left me, and I let you two off the hook, said I wouldn't embarrass you, and we gave you something. You're not off the hook this time, so come on.
I've got the mark, well done.
You don't know where Thank you. Yes.
You can hide behind the clock.
Yes, there you go. So, yes, you can get your photos out if you want to.
Thank you ever so much. It's fine. Does that work? Can you take that with Hardingham's camera? I don't know how to. Where's the birdie?
Ladies and gentlemen, gentry and geriatrics, posh folk and peasants, be prepared to be astounded and astonished by the inaugural excogitation of excellent eccentricities, which shall henceforth be known as Woodbridge Quay Church Old-Time Music Hall. Does it look good? As you well know, audience participation is encouraged in these events, and the first house rule, which some of you have already picked up on, is for you to say ooh and ah whenever I say long words. So when I say tortuously tautological torments and perfunctory procronism, you respond a little more enthusiastic than that, but I assume you have now fully galvanised your gustatory cells and pigged your way through the hog roast. Groaned as well, yes. And I'm sure you agree with me that it was an excellent feast. Yes, I'm sure you do. I was in the kitchens earlier and 10,000 flies can't be wrong, can they? Yeah. Now my role tonight is to confer, devote, and entrust tonight's star performance to cater for your insatiable, intrepid indulgences. Indeed, even your enjoyment. We have bought tonight a concoction of cantabile comedy and calefactive cacophony, or even cacophony for that matter, as well as melissonant musicality. And so, ladies and gentlemen, relax and recline while I introduce our first act tonight, embracing a marvellous, masterly, mellifluous melange of inordinately, I should give you time to do that, I'll say it again, melange, no, of inordinately interesting illocutionary impishness. A tenacious trio of familistical felicitation. Your very own Phelan formation, Amanda, Jacob and Leah. There's an altruistic altercation up in the sound box at the moment.
This is what happens when you're married to the sound man.
I think Mikey's getting even.
I'm the king of the swingers, oh, the jungle VIP. I reached the top and I had to stop, and that's what's bothering me.
I wanna be a man cub and stroll right into town and be just like them other men. I'm tired of monkeying around.
Oh, we do.
I wanna be like you,
I wanna walk like you,
talk like you too,
you see it's true.
and ape like me.
I can learn to be
Human too.
Now don't try to give me man code. Made a deal with you. What I desire is a man's red fire to make my dreams come true.
Now give me the secret man cub.
Come on,
Clue me what to do. The power of man's red fire, so I can be like you.
oh, we do.
I wanna be like you,
I wanna walk like you,
talk like you too,
you see it's true.
and ape like me.
I can learn to be human too. I'm the king of the swingers, oh.
Jungle VIP.
I reached the top and I had to stop, cause that's what's bothering me.
I wanna be a man cub and stroll right into town.
And be just like them other men, we're tired of monkeying around. Swing to the left,
Swing to the right,
put your hands up if you're loving life.
I'm loving life, Jacob.
Oh, I'm loving life, mummy. Swing to the left, swing to the right, put your hands up if you're feeling nice.
Hey,
Feeling nice,
feeling
feeling
nice.
nice. Oh, we do.
I wanna be like you.
I wanna walk like you, talk like you too. You see it's true, and ape like me. I can learn to be like someone like you. Can learn to be like someone like you.
Can learn to be like someone like you. I wanna be like you.
Oh, no you don't, it's serious.
Thank you, Amanda, Jacob and Leah. It's great to see Mum and the children working together, isn't it? Eh? Have you ever wondered why adults are always asking little children what they want to be when they grow up? It's because they're looking for ideas. One is often tempted to recite famous quotes of such pungent perspicacity that leave the audience pondering, for seconds at least. And of course, the internet is a ready supplier of such wit and wisdom. However, as it was once quoted, the difficult thing with quotes on the internet is verifying them. And that was by Abraham Lincoln, I think. Hello? Sorry. Excuse me, these haven't been invented yet. Thank you. And now we move from quotes to quips as I introduce our next performer. He knows who he is. Our next performer, the master of mirth, king of comedy, wizard of wit, and protagonist of puns. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you, at enormous expense, the Venerable Don McClarty. Supposed to be in the wings, ready, Don. Yeah, man. Don McClarty.
Thank you.
Short Don McClarty.
That right? You wish you hadn't set this up, wouldn't you? Well, thanks for that. That wasn't me, that's a rude noise.
And once again, Don McClarty.
Thanks, Keith, for the build-up, and thanks for the quote about the expenses. I didn't realise I was entitled to expenses. I'll see you later.
It's all relative, yes.
And thank you, Jonathan. I've got a friend in Haverfordwest. I'm sure she'd like to hear your comments. And also a friend in Frankfurt, when I think of it, and then on Mainz and the Rhine. So I look forward to that, sharing that with them. And I was interested to see the theatre where we used to worship, and we had a quote there with something on the notice. And I remember when we were down there, you have to excuse my French now, it said, Les Miserables, Quay Church. It didn't say, it wasn't very complimentary, was it? No. Right, I'm told I've got to do jokes, but I can't think of any real jokes. I'm probably the biggest joke here. Oh, thank you, very kind. I did a little bit of mental arithmetic the other day, and I found that Mark and Janet are our 7th minister and wife since the time I started to come to Beaumont and then on to the Quay, the 7th. And I can well remember Mark and his arrival, and we'd come up from the Beaumont. I remember him saying on his annual report, he'd put down, I've closed one church. Not a very encouraging start, I thought, but anyway, for you and me. But they were happy days, and it's been great having Mark and Janet. Really has been. I mean that sincerely, and I regard them as friends. And we tend to forget the minister's wife very often, and I know that Janet is a stalwart in the background. I hear lots of good comments about Janet, the work she does and the support she gives. It's time for you to clap now, Mark. She's a great girl. She's a great girl. Yes, and you're not just our minister and wife, you are greatly loved and appreciated here. Really are. And where do I go from here? Right, you closed one church, early progress report. And later on, I remember a comment he made in this church, I believe, up front. He looked at us all very earnestly, we all sat in the pews there, and he said, I'm paid to be good. You lot are good for nothing. Do you remember that, Mark? You seemed to look so sincere when you said it, that's the trouble. No, there've been lots of laughs too, and you look a really happy married couple. Talk about marriage, because there's 25 years that elapsed, isn't it, which you've either thrived on or survived. I'm not quite sure which is appropriate. And thinking about marriages, I think of my Aunt Jessie in Scotland. Used to stay with her many times, even when I was a wee boy during the war. And Aunt Jessie was my favourite aunt. She was the only aunt I had, apart from my others who were through marriage, were my aunts. And Aunt Jessie and Uncle Dennis, he was English, and Aunt Jessie was a very proud Scots lady. And when they had a ding-dong, it was a real argument, you know. They used to get stuck in. I think it cleared the air, and they lived into their 90s before they died. So it might be good at having a good old argument, an altercation, as we used to call it in the prison service. And, it looked better than a fight or an argument. A big word. To learn how to spell it first of all. But anyway, Aunt Jessie and they used to have and of course she was fervent Scottish. And during the war there was a song which used to be sung which was called There'll Always Be an England. And that used to enrage Aunt Jessie. She wasn't having that. So she added some lines of her own to it. There'll always be an England as long as Scotland stands. And she meant it. That was her. She was a great person. She died some years back. She was almost 100. But I loved going up there, and they always made me welcome, and I appreciated it. That was Aunt Jessie. Jonathan Lamb, you may know the name, he's a Keswick speaker, a vicar, and a very learned man. And he said when he got married in a church in Keswick, he said that they were exchanging their vows and things were going well, and he suddenly, a text on the wall at the back attracted his attention. And it said, oh dear, memory lapse, call upon me in the day of trouble and I will answer you. And that was when they were getting married. So, I don't know if you think that's an appropriate verse or inappropriate, but I don't know, some people with rocky marriages, they would probably say that was appropriate. And there was a bus conductor who became a minister, and a lady who used to go on his number 33 I think it was, saw him. He said, I recognise that man. Our minister, he used to be a bus conductor. And she said to him one day, that must be a huge change for you. Not really, he said. I still ask them for their money, and I still tell them exactly where they can get off. Army chaplains, I don't think I've got to be careful here, don't steal. Oh, perhaps I'll scrub that one. No, there was an army chaplain I met once on holiday in Devon, great big burly man, very serious and a wee bit kind of grim looking, you know. And he said he was told to go to hospital there one day to give the last rites to a soldier, presumably. And unfortunately he got muddled up. And he gave the last rites to a man with a similar name. And that doesn't seem funny, does it? But I often think, what would that poor man think? He was this big, foreboding-looking man giving him the last rites. And I often wonder about that one. So, Mark, I'm paid to be good. You lot are good for nothing. I've got a choice now, not to shut up or go on, but I had 3 stories here. One was about insurance claims. One is about an English lady and a Swiss house, yes. I'll go with the Swiss one, I think. I think he's not here. I don't see Richard and Christine here. They're the ones who put that in my hand some time back. Anyway, this English lady, she was on holiday and she wanted to buy a house in a remote village in Switzerland. On her return home, she realised she didn't see the toilet to her new house. So she wrote to the Swiss estate agent asking about the location of the WC. The estate agent had very little knowledge of English language, so he asked the parish priest to translate the letter for him. The only meaning for WC that he could think of was Wayside Chapel. Not what we understand as a WC, but Wayside Chapel. So they wrote this letter to the lady. My dear madam, I take pleasure in informing you that the WC is situated 9 miles from the house. In the centre of a beautiful grove of pine trees surrounded by lovely grounds. It is capable of holding 229 people and is open on Sundays and Thursdays only. As there is a great number of people expected during the summer months, it is an unfortunate situation, especially if you're in the habit of going regularly. It may interest you to know that my daughter was married in the WC, and it was there where she met her husband. I can remember the rush there was for seats. There were 10 people to every seat, usually occupied by one. You may be glad to hear that a good number of people have their lunch, bring their lunch and make a day of it. While those who can afford to go by car just in time. Lost my place. Yeah, sorry. I would especially recommend that your ladyship go on Thursdays when there is an organ accompaniment. Daft, isn't it? The acoustics are excellent. Even the most delicate sounds can be heard everywhere. Dear me. The newest addition is a bell donated by a wealthy resident of the district. It rings every time a person enters. A bazaar is to be held to provide plush seats for all, since the people feel it is long needed. My wife is rather delicate and she can't attend regularly. It's almost a year since she went last. And naturally it pains her very much not to be able to go more often. I shall be delighted to reserve the best seat for you, where you shall be seen by all. For the children, there is a special day and time so that they do not disturb the elders, hoping to be of some service to you. Yours faithfully. I'm just about done, Keith. Almost. Steady, steady.
Time we've got all night.
No. When we used to have gatherings like this, family gatherings, and mainly at Christmas, this is on a different note, different level, we used to sing a hymn, and I think it's a hymn which would be very appropriate even for here. I'm not going to say we all get up and sing, so relax. But we used to sing this in lieu of grace sometimes when we had a family gathering. Maybe there'd be about 16, 20 of us even in a big house, a big family house. And the Wilson and the McLarty family. And we used to sing, I'll try and say it from memory, how good is the God we adore, our faithful, unchangeable friend. His love is as great as his power. It knows neither measure nor end. 'Tis Jesus, the first and the last, whose spirit will guide us safe home. And we thank him for all that is past. 10 years, Mark and Janet. We thank him for all that's past, and we trust him for all that's to come. I think the last two lines are very precious. For me, they are. You know, we just praise God for all that's past, and we thank him, and we trust him for all that is to come. That's me done, Keith.
Oh. Thank you. Thank you. Come on, give a very round of applause. Thank you. Excellent, Mr. McLarty. I'm sure that Don won't mind me telling you that he was really nervous about telling these jokes because he told the same ones about 3 years ago. And I reassured him by asking him to consider the audience. Most of you lot wouldn't remember him if it was 3 minutes ago. So, and talking of memory, they say that in every group of over 50 people, there is someone with short-term memory loss. And talking of memory, they say that in every group of 50 people, there's someone with... Anyway, and now, ladies and gentlemen, our next act is a melodic, mellissonant, mellifluous, and meticulous menagerie performed with the dulcet tones and fastidious fretwork of this delightful duo. I give you The Streets of London, performed by our very own Ken and Helen Smith. You're the next, okay.
Well, how am we going to follow Dawn? That was really good. was already said, I'm going to sing The Streets of London, and it's written by Ralph McTell. He wrote it way back in 1969, so it's a golden oldie, really. But it's food for thought. Every line of the song is real food for thought. And I thought, well, the second verse, I'll read it to you, but I'm sure a lot of you know it, and please join in if you do. The second verse goes like this. Have you seen the old girl who walks the streets of London, dirt in her hair and her clothes in rags? She's no time for talking, she just keeps right on walking, carrying her home in 2 carrier bags. And when I started singing, all I could think of were these poor refugees trying to find a new home. So let's be mindful of these poor people as they're looking for a new home desperately. As we sing this all together, please, Streets of London by Ralph McTell. And by the way, I've managed to get Ken to take his guitar out of mothballs for tonight. Can you sing? Can you sing right?
You can actually say it is a truly beautiful 3-hanky tune.
Oh, right. There you go.
That's the way
says
I play it.
Says it all. Have you seen the old man in the closed down market, kicking up the paper with his worn out shoes? In his eyes you see no pride, hand held loosely at his side. Yesterday's paper telling yesterday's news. Everybody, so how can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. Have you seen the old girl who walks the streets of London? Dirt in her hair and her clothes in rags. She's no time for talking, she just keeps right on walking, carrying her home in 2 carrier bags. So how can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. In the all-night cafe at 11:15, same old man sitting there on his own, looking at the world over the rim of his teacup. Each tea lasts an hour, then he wanders home alone. Everybody, so how can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand and lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something to make you change your mind. And have you seen the old man outside the Seaman's Mission? Memory fading with the metal ribbons that he wears. In our winter city, the rain cries a little pity for one more forgotten hero and a world that doesn't care. So how can you tell me you're lonely and say for you that the sun don't shine? Let me take you by the hand, I'll lead you through the streets of London. I'll show you something that'll make you change your mind.
Thank you, Ken, Helen. Such relaxing rendering of rhythm often allows us to drift into philosophical floxy norsinai hilla pilification. And yes, it is a real word. Somebody say, what does it mean? It means mind your own business, that's what it means. At such times, we ponder many thoughts. I mean, what's this drug? Okay, like, where's my diggy board dropped off? Never mind, that's personal. Let's get it back on. Oh, never mind, we'll go without it. Okay, and I mean, have you ever noticed that things like parallel lines have so much in common? It's a shame they'll never meet. Or in the cinema, which armrest is yours, you know? Or perhaps, can you daydream at night? Or if God sneezed, what would you say? Well, I think about these things anyway. And now we move from the sublime to the ridiculous as we embrace our next act, consisting of the lovely lunatic lectionary of the Pamers poem, I Wish I'd Looked After Me Teeth, ably rendered with inordinately interesting illocutionary impishness, as she devastatingly yet democratically demonstrates the default demotic. That deserves a good ooh, come on. Ooh, yes. Let me introduce to you your very own, Madam Christine Pickersgill.
Oh, I wish I'd looked after me teeth and spotted the dangers beneath all the toffee I chewed and that sweet sticky food. I wish I'd looked after me teeth. I wish I'd been that much more willing when I had more tooth than filling to give up gobstoppers in respect to me choppers and to buy something else with me shilling. When I think of the lollies I licked and the licorice all sorts I picked, sherbet dabs big and little, all that hard peanut brittle, me conscience gets terribly pricked. My mother, she told me no end, if you've got a tooth, you've a friend. I was young then and careless, me toothbrush was airless. I never had much time to spend. Oh, I showed them the toothpaste all right. I fleshed it about late at night. But up and down brushing and all of that fussing, I didn't have time. I could bite. If I'd known I was paving the way to cavities, caps and decay, the murder of fillings, injections and drillings, I'd have thrown all me sherbet away. So I lie in the old dentist's chair and I gaze up his nose in despair, and his drill it do whine in these molars of mine. 2 amalgams he'll say, for in there. And I used to laugh at me mother's false teeth as they flashed around, and I've forgotten where, in the water. But now comes the reckoning. It's me they is beckoning. I wish I'd looked after me teeth.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for an excellent, erudite, entertaining and exuberant exhortation. And the poem was good too. And how do we so like our dentists, don't we? Don't we? Yes. I mean, I was at the dentist last week, and after I'd sat down in the chair, he said, please scream as loudly as you possibly can. Why should I do that? I said. Because the waiting room is full, and the football starts in 10 minutes. And now is the time we move from dentures to drama, as we welcome our next duo to provide a thrilling threnody of rapturous, rippling rombustiousness in the form of a scintillating sketch. So let me give you, direct from the Apollo Theatre, Coddenham, your very own, Alan and Debbie Skirrell.
not so long ago about how we fell in love at the 70s disco. Okay. How long have you been married, Mark? 25 years. Well, this is what happens when you have been married 50 years. These are the same two people. So it's Ernie and Daisy.
At this point, you imagine the sea rolling in and the sound of the sea flicking on the pebbles on the beach. Or you think about something other than them putting their microphone. Ah, right, we have sound.
Never get these open. Looking forward to this. I thought I asked for cheese and cucumber. Where's the cucumber?
We didn't have any, dear.
So my cheese and cucumber is just plain cheddar cheese.
Yes, dear.
You know I don't like cucumber. What else we got? Oh. At least I got a wagon wheel. You know, they're not as big as they used to be. I'm sure they're not. Not when I was a boy, anyway. Maybe it's just because my hands got bigger. Bit of a con now. Even the chocolate is thinner.
Ah, probably, dear.
Oh, yeah, yeah. What else we got? What on earth? You know I like red apples. Red have much more flavour.
Sorry, dear.
I'm not going to have it. Anything else? Well, crisps. Thai sweet chilli. Never had these ones before. I'm not sure that I'll like them. It used to be that you could only have plain ones with. You used to get a little blue bag of salt and you sprinkle on them. Those were the days. Or maybe you had cheese and onion or smoky bacon. Oh, Smoky bacon. That's my favourite. That's my favourite. Not Thai sweet chilli. I blame Gary Lineker.
Yes, dear.
God, that's hot. Oh. Anyhow, what type of coffee is this? Is it Colombian or maybe Kenyan? Is it normal or is it decaf? You know, if I have decaf, I get all moody and grumpy. The trouble is there is too much choice in what type of coffee you can get in the supermarket. You can end up watching the shelves not move for about 10 minutes in the coffee aisle.
Yes, dear.
Right, what's in here? The Brit Awards. Give me strength. Is that the best there is? One Direction? Just shows the state of the British music nowadays, doesn't it? It's not proper music. Proper music is like when I was growing up. Gary Glitter. Elvin Stardust. Slade and ABBA.
Yes, dear.
The state of England's football team lately. Since they brought in Roy Hodgson, we've been doing rubbish in the competitions. Qualifying is fine, but in the tournaments, well, for heaven's sakes, they're rubbish. Now Wales has overtaken us in the world rankings. Much more of this, and we'll be having Scotland overtake us by the end of the season. Oh, the embarrassment. Wasn't like that back in Sir Bobby's day. Oh no, World Cup semi-finalists. Those were the days. Great days.
Yes, dear.
Well, I think I'd better go and use the facilities. Probably have to spend 20p there as well. See you in a minute.
Okay, dear. Don't hurry back.
Thank you, Alan and Debbie. And what a dazzling duo of pungent perspicacity. And now we move swiftly to our sixth act of the evening. And what a musical manifestation this will be. Talking of music, it is time for a musically themed I say joke. So here we go. I say, what do you get when you drop a piano into a mine shaft? And you say, I don't know. What do you get? A flat minor. You'll be ecstatic to know that that was the music hall mandatory I say joke and will remain alone. Tonight, we are privileged. Gavel handy. We are privileged in participating I must fix this, I keep forgetting about it. In participating in a marvellous, masterly, mellifluous melange of a musical masterpiece, ably presented, with thematic, thrasonical, transcendental, and tuneful technique. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you, at enormous expense, a dazzling duo of dynamic dexterity, Messieurs Chris and Ruth Hughes.
While Ruth's getting the music stand started, I was reminded of a joke. Well, it's not a joke, it's a true story. Actually, Don was talking about, confusion over WCs, etc. A true story my dad had told with great joy on many occasions was that he was a primary school teacher, and he worked at a school where the headmistress became a right nuisance to the caretaker over the water in the swimming pool. It was never clean enough for her. So she insisted on testing it before the caretaker was allowed to tell the teachers that the children could go and use the swimming pool. And the caretaker was so fed up with this that he put a sign up in the swimming pool saying, "Attention, this water has been passed by the headmistress." I just thought that was vaguely relevant. And after... Look, this was a WC-related joke. I could tell another story of my own experience. Oh, right. Anyway, after that rather depressing view of love and marriage and relationships, Ruth and I are going to do... We were asked, I have to say, and I can foresee... Seriously, we're probably in for the next 20 years at least of being asked to do songs to the increasing embarrassment of everyone who has to listen to them. But we're going to sing a worship song to you. Yeah, it's a worship song. So after we've sung it at the right tempo, we'll drop half the instruments, do it slower, and you... And I'm borrowing David's guitar. I'm just a bit rock and roll low for me, I have to say. Sorry. I don't know what it is that makes me love you so. I only know I never want to let you go. 'Cause you started something, can't you see? That ever since we met you've had a hold on me. It happens to be true. I only want to be with you.
It doesn't matter where you go or what you do. I want to spend each moment of the day with you. Oh, look what has happened with just one kiss. Never knew that I could be in love like this. It's crazy, but it's true. I only want to be with you.
No singing along. You stopped and smiled at me and asked if I cared to dance. I fell into your open arms. I didn't stand a chance. Now listen, honey, I just want to be beside you everywhere. So long as we're together, honey, I don't care. 'Cause you started something, can't you see? That ever since we met you've had a hold on me. It matter what you do, I only want to be with you. You stopped and smiled at me and asked if I cared to dance. I fell into my open arms. I didn't stand a chance. Now listen, honey, I just want to be beside you everywhere. So long as we're together, honey, I don't care. 'Cause you started something, can't you see? That ever since we met you've had a hold on me. It matter what you do, I only want to be with you. No matter what you do, I only want to be with you. No no matter what you do, I only want to be with you.
Our rehearsals are never anything like that.
Thank you, absolutely astounding, I hear you say. And we now move from melody to mirth, merriment, wisdom and wit, as once again we shall be entertained in the world of poetry. And of course we all know what the poet said to Luke Skywalker, "Metaphors be with you." Oh, come on, it's music hall. So moving on. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure, and it does, to introduce our second performance of poetry and prose, provided by our very own frenetic physician, Monsieur Jonathan Knight.
Bear with. Note to self, next time, do not go on the order after Chris and Ruth. If I start corpsing halfway through this, it's because I have that indelibly imprinted on my mind, and it may not go for many years, and I feel a little traumatised. I'm going to do a poem what I wrote in a minute, but when I came in this evening, I thought I was just going to do that one, but I got given another poem written by somebody else, and it's appropriate for this evening because first of all it's about Mark, and it's written by his granddad, and it was written by his granddad when Mark first started to speak. It's dated it's entitled Our Baby's Voice, 1965. So it's the first words. And it's kind of prescient. Ooh. Come on. You do it for him. I haven't got the hammer. Okay. Our baby's voice. Our baby's voice is sweet to hear. He chuckles all the day. Sometimes he crows and squeals with glee, talks in his own way. When Mummy lifts him to her face, he looks at her so cute. Ee, ah, he blithely says. He talks just like a flute. He has so very much to say. He's such a happy boy. He wants to tell his mum it all. Let her share his joy. Of course, Mum joins his chuckling glee and talks back in his tone. He smiles and understands it all, for this is home sweet home. Sometimes he lies and kicks and squeals with such tremendous flap. He almost scares himself with sound and thinks, now where was that? He thinks a while, and then, again, his voice rings loud and clear, as if to say to all around, now don't you know, I'm here. Ah, yes, dear lad, we know you're here, and glad to hear your voice. It fills our ears with music sweet and makes our hearts rejoice. One day you'll have much more to say, in words much more precise, but never will you say your piece in language quite so nice. I thought that was appropriate. When we last did a church weekend away, I did this poem about health and safety in church, and it was at the time when we were in this building, but it was in a different state of repair, and it was much more appropriate. And of course, we're now in a lovely building. But so I've reordered it and rewritten it. So if you weren't there the first time, you're blessed. And if you're going to hear it twice, you're twice blessed. And I've added some bits. So health and safety in church. It has come to my attention over many years attending that the message we are sending to the flock that we are tending is significantly affected and at times not well reflected by an issue that is getting worse. Hence my recourse to this verse, I mean the health and safety issue in our church. Some of us may think that this is not the situation or that auditing our building is somehow below our station. But remember, if you walk into our church as a member or a stranger, you're entering a minefield, a whole new world of danger. The door that always slams and the step you always trip on, the lack of handrails by the loo, the wet floor that you slip on, the wallpaper is peeling, there's a damp patch on the ceiling, the guttering is leaking, there's a sound of rodents squeaking, the sound system is squealing, in your ears you hear a pealing, the Sunday school are screaming, and the compost bin is steaming. The churchyard gate is rusty, and the pews can be quite dusty, and the vestry smells quite musty, and the teacups can be crusty. The carpets, they are balding, and the coffee's often scalding. The biscuits all are crumbling, so keep them in an airtight tin to stop us all from grumbling. Some may say our buildings aren't a burden, but a blessing. But I maintain the drains that smell are really quite distressing. This matter's so important that I've done all this research to address the health and safety in our church. The smoke detector's on the blink. There's something growing in the sink. The fridge has got a lump of cheese that's been in there since '93. There's candles dripping wax. I've checked the data, got the facts. There's crayons on the walls and no locks on toilet doors. It's best to sing some Wesley tunes when making use of our loos. If you're frustrated with the introduction of technology, just remember that where you read the words is not a fine point of theology, and that hymn books can be quite heavy, and it's hard to keep them steady. And if in praising you are raising arms above your shoulders, just be careful you don't get arthritis when you're older. Or if when meditating or getting down to kneel in prayer, your knees seize up, you can't get up and have to stay down there. I must report a modern craze, it might just be a passing phase, of using flags to show our praise, banners that are used for waving down the aisles or in the nave, in ecclesiastical type raving. I predict a holy riot. One of those things can take your eye out. And the music band can drive you nuts and lead to disaffection with their tendency to modulate and emulate the latest rock sensation, and you can't abide the drumming or the guitarist's offbeat strumming. It's like the off-key thrumming of the building's ancient plumbing. We've lost the first aid kit. High and low, I've done a search. It's vital to the health and safety of our church. Be warned, in certain seasons, think harvest and Christmas time, there are many other reasons to be careful. Think of all the glad occasions ruined when children eat the decorations. Baptisms require a special explanation of health and safety law and legislation, which must be followed with no deviation. The baptistry, its excavation, the water used, its chlorination, the amount to fill, a calculation, the drainage and the sanitation, the planning and the cogitation, hot and cold water, the combination, humidity, the perspiration, the length of submersion, its duration, too long may require resuscitation. So pay attention to preparation, and so in the Baptist pool should be buoyancy aids and anti-slip mats, handrails to grab both inside and out, 1 3/8 inches of water, It may be pedantic, but I think that we ought to. A lifeguard, a life vest, a neoprene wetsuit. Make sure no one's wearing their Sunday best suit. Blankets to treat near hypothermia. A winch for the minister who might get a hernia. Place a crew on standby at the lifeboat station to avoid any corporate litigation. This is no laughing matter. Do not smile or even smirch. We must address the health and safety of our church. For sitting still for quite a time in sermons long and rotten can lead to pins and needles, a loss of feeling in your bottom, and the flowers shedding pollen can set off people sneezing, and the heating system doesn't work. In winter we are freezing, for I fear I must report that nothing can prepare you for the pastor wearing shorts. The bitter truth is, I'm afraid, we don't have the resources to send the congregation out on lots of safety courses, but please take note and take some hope, my sisters and my brethren. The Bible makes no mention of health and safety talks in heaven.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Knight, for that splendid rendition of raucous rhetoric and ramblatory. And before we move on to our next performance, may I respectfully remind you that there will be a collection taken up after the show for the Atheist Society. And as you all know, it is a non-profit organisation. Come on! Not many to go, we're nearly there. Well, I've actually put groan, so I didn't like it either. And now, ladies and gentlemen, before we move any further, as Jonathan correctly reminded me, that I've also had a late entry for the Embarrassed Mark competition, written by his granddad also. This is much shorter, hence I can fit it in. It was written in 1967, so he was a little bit older then, a little bit. And it's called Mark's Mittens. These mittens, dear Mark, are for you, my boy, to keep your little hands warm. That must have been Esther speaking, by the way, I guess. Yeah. To keep your little hands warm, so wear them properly, with dignified grace, and keep them in good, proper form. Our Mark, he grinned, and he put on the things, with meek and submissive grace. But as soon as Mum's back was turned about, he flung them all over the place. Oh, Mark, your mittens, dear Mummy said, will keep your hands from the cold air. My mittens, crowed Mark, are funny old things. I'll not wear them at all. So there. And that's it. And I'm told that his granddad would have been 102 today, or 102 anyway. So is anybody competing with that one? No, okay. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move from poetry to pitch. Pièce volée and plethoric pussification. As I introduce our next performer, a man who needs no introduction, but I'll do it anyway. Let me introduce the venerable veteran of the vocal cord, virtuoso of the violin, guru of the guitar, and master of the mandolin, the maestro of music himself. I give you Mr. David Tricker.
I'm having two, not just one, so there. I think that was a few years ago. Should be. Right. I'm going to do a song that I wrote for Mark's induction.
So this was 10 years ago, so quite an apt one to do, I think. It's about Woodbridge, really. And everything's 10 years later, so some of the 35 should become 45, and it's quite interesting, the line about children growing up. They've almost all grown up now, and it's all very depressing, really, in a nice sort of way. So it's called Town of My Heart. It's about Woodbridge. Right. The best way to see you is to sail up the river. It's a scene I've known now for 35 years. The gasworks are gone and there's a church with new steeple. How much will it change in 35 more? We lived by the meadow, the river close by. I learned to sail, to ride my bike, but the places we played are covered now with car parks. Waste places gone, rough edges smoothed out. And things they change, sometimes for the better. And things they change, sometimes for the worse. Down on the river, you've a place in my heart. Down on the river, you've a place in my heart. The town is bigger now, more people, more cars. No more the backwater you once were. I should be thankful you're growing, not dying. But sometimes I want things just as they were. But it's a good place to be and a hard place to leave, so I'll stay and you'll grow with my children. You've given me memories, and I hope I'll have more of this town on the river, town of my heart. And things they change, sometimes for the better. And things they change, sometimes for the worse. Town on the river, you've a place in my heart. Town on the river, you've a place. And things they change, sometimes for the better. And things they change, sometimes for the worse. Down on the river, you've a place in my heart. Down on the river, you've a place in my heart. Place in my heart. Place in my heart.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you, an absolutely uncathecephalous performance. Yeah. Careful. Yeah. As I prepared for this evening, and yes, I did prepare for this evening, I researched many alliterations and phrases, which brought me to examining some of the silly things we say in the English language. For example, cheap at half the price. Well, of course it is. It's 50% off. I mean, to be honest, as up to that point, everything I've said was a lie. and this is a great one. It's always in the last place you look. Okay, so I've just found my car keys, but I think I'll keep looking because I'll find another set if I keep looking in the last place. On the final one is, of course, you don't know you're born. Well, I wonder how I got here. No answers, please. But I also came across some excellent quotations, such as this one by Frieda Norris. You don't know Frieda Norris. Before you criticise someone, you should walk a mile in their shoes. That way, when you criticise them, you're a mile away from them, and you have their shoes. And as Douglas Adams, author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, quoted, a common mistake that people make when trying to design something completely foolproof is to underestimate the ingenuity of complete fools. And the final one from Zsa Zsa Gabor. He taught me housekeeping. When I divorce, I keep the house. And now for our penultimate act tonight. Fresh from cleaning out the barracks and peeling the spuds, let me welcome our cheeky chaplain, a man of few words, but he's learning rapidly, performing for us this evening at enormous expense. I give you your very own, and you can keep him if you want, Mr. Stuart Turner.
We're gathered here today on this beautiful autumn afternoon to pay our last respects to Thomas Fairclough, Richard Mason and Harold Walker. Tom, Dick and Harry, as they were known to all of us, three stout fellows of our community who will be sorely missed. Tom, sadly, was blind, an affliction he bore with great fortitude, especially considering he was also deaf. His only power was that of speech and song, and we all recall his enormous voice joining lustily in our hymn singing. Of course, being blind and deaf, Tom never actually knew what hymn we were singing, which seemed appropriate because we didn't know what hymns he was singing either. In fact, if we were to be perfectly frank with each other, Tom didn't actually know any hymns. So it is with deep gratitude that we recall the day when Colonel Grant, using only the sense of touch through the medium of a clenched fist, and he finally broke through to Tom and got him to shut up. Needing guidance through the darkness of life, Tom was lucky to have a friend like Dick. Dick had perfect eyesight and would gladly lead Tom wherever Tom wanted to go. Unfortunately, since Dick was also deaf, he couldn't actually hear where Tom wanted to go. But
Tom, Dick never complained about his afflictions, did he? Well, he couldn't. He was dumb. But, blessed with a gift of vision, though stone deaf, he was a tremendous fan of Bananarama. Being such an idiosyncratic pair, deaf to the world about them, Tom and Dick would have the permanent companionship of Harry. Harry could literally hear a pin drop. Although being blind and dumb, he could not see to pick it up, nor warn anyone else not to stand on it. So, as individuals, they were sadly afflicted. But together, they were in possession of all of God's senses, weren't they? And so it is together that we remember them. Together at their job, checking eggs at the farm. Dick would look for the cracks. Tom would complain to the foreman. And Harry would do the listening to Radio 1. Likewise, in the evening, when they had returned from work, they would all sit on the big red couch. Dick watching the television, Harry listening to the television, and Tom insisting it was time to buy a television. Sadly, 3 days ago, their peaceful lives were ended. Dick saw the combine harvester. Harry heard the combine harvester, but neither could cry out. Tom, who could have cried out, never had the faintest idea what hit him. And so they were all harvested together, blended into oneness at last. And now we trust are in heaven, as happy as any in that immortal host. For Dick will see the angels' choir. Harry will hear the angels' choir. And no doubt Tom will ruin it for everybody. Amen.
Thank you, the Reverend Turner. A truly excellent performance from the scintillating sculptor of sardonic sumptuousness and sacerdotalism. That's a real word too. Yeah? And I need to tell you that we are very fortunate in having Mr. Turner here this evening, following rumours of a bomb alert at the barracks. Apparently it was thought that terrorists had hidden bombs in hundreds of tins of alphabetic spaghetti. And if they'd gone off, they could have spelt disaster. It's all right, we're nearly at the end. And now we arrive at the Canterbury conclusion of this evening's bawdlerised, pathetic, boisterous barrage of babble-events, baboonery, banter and ballads. I know that you will enjoy the mellifluous, magnificent and melodic voices of this tantalising tangle of tempting, tangential, tenacious, tormenting and tautological trio. I give you, at no cost whatsoever, 3 little maids fresh from school, featuring Mesdames, Ruth, Debbie and Amanda. Yes, thank you, ladies, for an absolutely stupendous, stimulating and scintillating spectacle of schoolgirls singing and skullduggery. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our our cavalcade of comedy, Canterbury, and indeed commitment. Many will indeed be committed following tonight's performance. I'm sure you will forgive my occasionally amusing application of elusive alliteration, used with allegorical alliance of allogamy, allegedly. And in the words of the old song, paraphrased, see you later, alliterator, in a while, typophile. And as the, thank you. And as the actors all congregate at that side of the stage, ready for a finale, I would like you all to join in rapturous, reverberating, even raucous applause as we parade our perspicacious performers this evening in our finale lineup. So let the stars march into the music. As I introduce Amanda, Jacob, and Leah Phelan. Mr. John McCarthy. Helen and Ken Smith. And Christine Pickersgill. Alan and Debbie Squirrel. Oh, Debbie anyway. Alan's up there, yes, yes. And Chris and Ruth Hughes. And Mr. Jonathan Knight. And Mr. Dave Tricker. And Reverend Stuart Turner. And last, and certainly not least, the three little maids from school, Ruth, Debbie, and Amanda. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Drive safe and God bless you all.
Again.
Don't
know where. Don't know where.
Everybody now.
But I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
And more words, I'm sure you know them all.
Keep smiling through, just like you always do. Till the blue skies drive the dark clouds far away. So will you please say hello
waving
to
arms,
the folks that I know? Tell them I won't be long.
Those who know the words, sing them
They'll
louder.
be happy to know that as you saw
Even la 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 la.
I was singing this song.
And
we'll meet again.
I don't know when.
Don't know when.
I don't know when.
Don't know when. But I know we'll meet again some sunny day.
Thank you. Thank you. Cut the music. Thank you. Bye bye, everybody.